Hello everyone, my name is Vanessa. The name of this channel is called Gnostic Knowledge, and what I am doing on this channel is sharing the knowledge of gematria via two books written by Zachary Hubbard. The first book is entitled Letters and Numbers, which I have completed reading on this channel, and you can go and listen to chapters 1 through 22 right now. And I am reading his second book, which is a physical book, 9/11 number games 9/11 to coronavirus, and this is the man that wrote the book, Zachary Hubbard, and I will tell you at the end of my reading how to get both of his books. Now, gematria is the encoding of numbers within our letters and words, of course. So our letters are in fact numbers, so every word we speak has a numerical value. So the more that you learn about gematria, the more clearly you will begin to see this alphanumeric code, how it works, how it's being used, and how it has been used for eons. Well, maybe not eons, but at least over 1,000 years per the Jesuits, Catholic Church, whatnot. And the English language was created specifically for gematria, and you will come to understand that the more you read and learn about gematria, and once you begin to see it, you will not be able to unsee it, and that's the beauty of this code. Okay, so without further ado, I am in chapter 16 of the book, Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus, and I will continue reading. This is the second reading of chapter 16. I think I have a little over 20 pages to complete, and I will try to get through it in this session. So without further ado, I will begin reading. Okay. With regards to Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, he is a man who has had some very dark rituals taking place around him, as is so often the case in the world of celebrity. If you have not read my first book, I cover the story of the death of Will Smith, the NFL star. On the same day, Will Smith, the actor, received a Lifetime Achievement Award from MTV on a stage with a gold and black color theme, the same color theme of the New Orleans Saints, who the NFL player Will Smith played for. Let us not forget, New Orleans equates to 54, the same as Kobe being Bryant and Jesuit order. Also relevant, at the time, Will Smith, the actor, had just finished the movie Focus, set in New Orleans, a film about football, gambling, and numbers. If you have seen that film, you might recall the numerology lesson Will Smith gives on the number 55. Not by chance, both numerology and Will Smith equate to 55. And this is in part why you read about the death of his co-star from Fresh Prince, Galen Gork, at age 55 on July 14th, 2020, one day before her July 15th birthday, a date that can be written 15/7 like 157. As we'll get to, Smith's song, Just the Two of Us, also has to do with the drowning of Naya Rivera on July 8th, 2020. A date with 55 numerology. I should note, Naya Rivera is remembered as the love interest in the Kobe Bryant Jersey Field B2K music video, Why I Love You. And on the subject of Will Smith, Kobe Bryant, Bel Air, and helicopters, keep in mind the same actor, Will Smith, starred in the film I Am Legend, where his family is killed in a helicopter accident. That film title has gematria of 47, the same as Bel Air, reminding us that Kobe Bryant died on a date with 47 numerology on 1/26/20, and when you add 1 plus 26 plus 20, that equates to 47. And that the emergency phone call for the crash was made at 9:47 a.m. local time, further reminding us that the first 911 call was made on the 47th day of 1968. Let us not forget, Black Mamba equates to 211, the 47th prime number. At the same time, Beast, B-E-A-S-T, beast equates to 47, corresponding with how helicopter sums to 666. For another 47 word, it is legend with simple English, and it reminds us of the cartoon Legends of Chamberlain Heights and how it also foretold the fateful end of Kobe Bryant in a helicopter. On the subject of legends, you should seek out the interview Tracy McGrady did with ESPN immediately after Kobe Bryant's death, where he told the reporter that when he and Kobe Bryant were young men in the NBA, Kobe confided in him that he wanted to die early so he could be immortalized as a legend. If that is true, he got his wish, but perhaps not in the way he would have hoped, with his daughter dying as well, and reportedly 7 other people. Coming back to the jerseys shown in the graphic for Legends of Chamberlain Heights, the numbers are 55, 54, and 100. To go even further on 55, I will tell you something that I have not told you thus far. There is a complementary rule to the Pythagorean ciphers, and it is for the 19th letters in each respective cipher. When you use these rules, words such as Los Angeles equate to 55, and Yahweh, YHWH, the 4-letter name of God, sums to 26, the same as it does in the Hebrew language, thus being the reason why 26 is the God number. With Pythagorean gematria, it is S, and with reverse Pythagorean, it is H, the letters S and H, okay? The rule is created because the 19th letter is the only letter you must reduce 2 times using numerology to get to a single digit number in the 26-letter alphabet. For example, S equates to 19, or S equals 19, and then in numerology terms, 1 plus 9 equals 10, okay? Then S is 10, and then it would be 1 plus 0 is 1. Okay? It is the same with H in reverse Pythagorean, breaking down from 19 to 10 to 1. So the rule becomes that S can be 1 or 10 with Pythagorean gematria, and H can be 1 or 10 with reverse Pythagorean gematria. And for the record, up to this point in the book, we have not used this rule for any calculations outside of the Trump Heights ritual on his 74th birthday that briefly mentioned earlier, the one that happened the same day the 74th Charles Schwab challenge concluded, won by the Jewish golfer with the 7-4 birthday, where Trump Heights, being established in the Jewish nation of Israel, equates to 74, using the rule with Pythagorean gematria. That said, I want to emphasize that all you really need are the 4 base ciphers, not including the rule with the 19th letter, that you learned in the first chapter to decode adequately. So all you will need is the 4 base ciphers to do your decodes adequately, okay? And that is why up to this point in the book, at least 98% of the calculations made have been with the base ciphers exclusively. The advantage of being aware of more ciphers is that you become more experienced with gematria. It can be insightful to start picking up on rituals that are hidden beyond the first layer of decoding, such as how Los Angeles equates to 55 in a very Los Angeles related death that brought together the people of LA on February 24th, the 55th day of the year, for Kobe Bryant's Staples Center Memorial, or as mentioned, how the 4-letter name of God, YHWH, Yahweh, equates to 26, corresponding with the Hebrew language. And if you want to learn more about this, I highly suggest reading the first chapter of my first book that begins with why there are 26 letters in the English alphabet. Something you will find is a major complement to learning about Kobe Bryant's death on the 26th day of the Gregorian year. Also keep in mind that the four-letter name of God is the Tetragrammaton, summing to 58, the same as Kobe Bryant, who again fell to fourth in scoring after being passed by LeBron King James excuse me, the day before Kobe's death. Okay? Wow. I want to reread that since I coughed in there. Okay. Also, keep in mind that the four-letter name of God is the Tetragrammaton, summing to 58, the same as Kobe Bryant, who again fell to fourth in scoring after being passed by LeBron King James the day before Kobe's death, and reminding us that the real King James, who had the Bible printed in his name in 1611, died at 58, and like Kobe Bryant, he died unexpectedly. To be fair, you could call it a hazard of being in secret societies, and as we know, secret society equates to 58. On the subject of secret societies, death, and Kobe Bryant, who died on the 26th of January in 2020, 1,383 days after scoring 60 points in his last NBA game on April 13th, 2016. That last game came 213 days after the death of Moses Malone at age 60 on September 13th, 2015. This was a curious distance in dates because Los Angeles, where Kobe played, is in the 213 area code, and in satanic gematria that you learned about earlier, death sums to 213. If you're not aware, Moses Malone was a Philadelphia basketball star, the same as Kobe Bryant. What else brought the two men together was the fact that they were both drafted into professional basketball from out of high school. And in the case of Moses Malone, he was drafted by the Utah Stars, similar to how Kobe Bryant finished his career against the Utah Jazz. And since we brought up the number 213 and the date September 13th, I'd be amiss if I did not tell you that Tupac Shakur sums to 139 with simple English, and he died on 13/9 or September 13th, 1996, 213 days after releasing his last album while he was alive, All Eyes on Me. That album was released on February 13th, 1996, or 213, corresponding with how Black Panther equates to 213, and his mother was a Black Panther who was announced dead in the headlines on the real Machiavelli's birthday, May 3rd, 2016, one day after her passing, a fact that matters because her son's rap alias was Machiavelli, named after Machiavelli, a man who faked his death. Faked his own death. Okay. Furthermore, like Kobe Bryant, Tupac called the 213 area code his home at the time of his demise, even though he was originally from New York. And for one more parallel, Tupac's last album, Machiavelli, equating to 74 with simple English, the same as Jesus, Cross, and Rapper, had album artwork depicting Tupac nailed to the cross, reminiscent of the crucifixion of Jesus. Let us not forget, Tupac sums to 74 with reverse simple English. And for the icing on the cake, the Machiavelli album released on November 15th, 1996, Guy Fawkes Day, a Jesuit day of remembrance, and the day leaving 56 days left in the year, taking us back to the Society of Jesus. And for one more, 213, the Black Mamba equates with Jewish gematria, the name of the film that foretold Kobe Bryant's fate. Wow. Adding to the darker side of the ritual of Kobe Bryant's last game, where he scored 60 points as the adding to the darker side of the ritual of Kobe Bryant's last game, where he scored 60 points, was the death of Daryl Dawkins, summing to 60 with Pythagorean gematria, another Philadelphia basketball star who died just before Moses Malone on August 27, 2015, the day leaving 126 days left in the year, not far off from the date Kobe Bryant would eventually die, written as 126, and also corresponding with the simple English value of Gianna Bryant, summing to 126. Gianna Bryant summing to 126, the daughter of Kobe who died with him. Furthermore, Daryl Dawkins died at age 58, connecting to the gematria of Kobe Bryant and Moses Malone, both equating to 58, with reverse Pythagorean gematria, as well as 41 with Pythagorean. As a reminder, Los Angeles Lakers, the team Kobe played for, also sums to 58 with Pythagorean. And notice, if you add the ages of death, 60 and 58, they equate to 118, corresponding with the gematria of Los Angeles, California, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as death. Even more, Dawkins died a span of 33 weeks from Kobe's last game, and Kobe sums to 33 with simple English, a man who died during the 74th NBA season, as you learned about in the first chapter. The ritual of 74 and 33 is common. And speaking of 74, for the 74th NBA season, And speaking of 74, for the 74th NBA season, the biggest story outside of Kobe's demise was Zion Williamson, equating to 74, with Pythagorean. His NBA story began with the Zion Williamson sweepstakes on the 71st day of Zionist Israel, May 14, 2019, where Catholic equates to 71 and 145, the latter being like the date of establishment, 14/5, okay? You should also know that Zion Williamson sums to 74 with Pythagorean and has overlap with Society of Jesus in 3 out of 4 ciphers, 79, 187, and 191, where one of those 3 values correspond with the fact that his birthday is July 6th, 2000, the 187th day of the year in non-leap years. And just so you know, we have not bounced from Daryl Dawkins dying at age 58 to Zion Williamson by accident. That's because on January 26, 2020, after Zion Williamson finished his 3rd career NBA game, the same day Kobe Bryant reportedly passed, he had totaled 58 points, scoring 22 in his debut on the 22nd of January, a span of 22 days from the death of David Stern, then 15 on the 24th, and then 21 on the 26th. Keep in mind, Pelicans and New Orleans Pelicans equates to 79, like Zion Williamson, and 79 is the 22nd prime, corresponding with his 22-point NBA basketball debut on the 22nd day of the year. And with regards to the 21 he scored the day Bryant died, Lakers as well as Jesuit sum to 21 in Pythagorean, and from the date Daryl Dawkins died to Kobe's last game was a span of 231 days, the 21st triangular number. As we know, the number 21 also connects to Bible, and in that breath I will remind you that Kobe Bryant's death was foreshadowed on November 16th or 16/11, 1611, on Comedy Central in a King James tribute who has a Bible named after him that was published in 1611, right after English was standardized with a 26-letter alphabet and the Gregorian calendar had been introduced. And with King James in mind, let us not forget that biblical equates to 58. At the same time, King James Version, the phrase King James Version equates to 74 with Pythagorean, and Kobe's very King James related death ritual came in what NBA season? The 74th. Of course, when the Lakers returned from the coronavirus break on July 30th, 2020, and played the Clippers in the Battle of Los Angeles, they gave the Clippers their 21st loss of the season while improving to 24-8 at home, corresponding with the jerseys Kobe Bryant wore, 24-8. In that same game, the score was tied at 74-74 late, and then 101-101 before LeBron scored the winning 103rd points, reminding us of the ritual of the Cavs winning with LeBron on the real King James birthday, June 19, 2016, in their 103rd game of the season. And never mind, July 30th was the day leaving 154 days left in the year, and King James sums to 154 with reverse simple English. My goodness. To transition to what Kobe Bryant's death had to do with the league being suspended on March 11, 2020, or 11/3, after a member of the Utah Jazz tested positive for coronavirus, the team Kobe finished his career against. We'll begin with the number 113 and how it relates to Kobe Bryant. Using simple English, Kobe Bryant equates to 113, the same as Michael Jordan, a man whose career he emulated and who he passed in points scored on December 14th, 2014, 113 days after his August 23rd birthday. Keep in mind, Kobe did that in a win against the team from Minneapolis, the original home of the Lakers, and he helped his team become 8-16 for the season, meaning it was their 24th game, like how Kobe wore 8-24. At the same time, only one team in the league equates to 113 using their full name, and that is the Utah Jazz, who Kobe finished his career against and who Jordan once beat in the NBA Finals. For the record, the only other team with a connection to 113 is Dallas, the city name equating to 113 with reverse simple. And sure enough, they beat the Denver Nuggets 113-97 on March 11, 2020, the day the league was suspended. Speaking of Colorado, Eagle, Colorado sums to 113 with simple English, where Kobe Bryant was accused of rape, and a hometown reminding us of Kobe's hometown football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, where the nickname sums to 113 with reverse simple English. Okay, Eagles. Keep in mind, Eagle, Colorado also sums to 59 and 67, the same as Black Mamba. As for 113, it matters to the NBA because the National Basketball Association sums to 113 with Pythagorean gematria, the 30th prime number, explaining why the NBA has been capped at 30 teams since 2004. Furthermore, when Kobe Bryant died, he wrote a basketball poem titled Dear Basketball, equating to 113 with simple English and 41 with Pythagorean, identical to Kobe Bryant. Okay, he was even nominated for an Oscar award for Dear Basketball on January 23, 2018, Georgetown's anniversary, 41 days prior to the ceremony, March 4th, 2018. If you have not seen the Dear Basketball short film, it begins with 13 seconds on the clock, and of course 41 is the 13th prime number. Building on the 13 connection, from the day Kobe Bryant received the Oscar to his death was 99 weeks later. And as you have learned, when you write out 13 as a word, it equates to 99. Wow. And keep in mind, LeBron James passed Kobe Bryant in points scored in his 99th game with LA. The date of the nomination was also 153 days after Kobe's birthday, connecting to Jesuit order. Furthermore, 153 is the 17th triangular number, and NBA sums to 17 with simple English. It should also be noted that in Dear Basketball, Kobe talks about giving his soul for basketball, and the word soul has gematria of 67, matching Calabasas, Black Mamba, Fresh Prince, and the numerology of the date of his demise, January 26, 2020. Back on the subject of 113 and Kobe Bryant in relation to the league being suspended on March 11th or 11/3, Kobe Bryant was drafted in round 1 with the 13th overall pick by the North Carolina team in tribute to Michael Jordan in 1996. Thus, on the draft sheet, he was taken 1 in 13. Furthermore, after being traded from Charlotte, he made his debut for the Lakers on November 3rd, 1996, a date that can be written 11/3. Keep in mind, that game was against Minneapolis, the original home of the Lakers, and the Lakers won with 91 points, the 13th triangular number, scoring 26 in the fourth quarter. More recently, on December 13th, 2019, Kobe Bryant had mainstream headlines written about him for being a good Samaritan for assisting with a car accident in LA that he supposedly witnessed, not by chance. That was his 113th day of his age, and mainstream equates to 157, 113, and 41, with the same ciphers as Kobe Bryant. As we learned earlier, accident sums to 157. It also sums to 59, the latter like Calabasas and Black Mamba. As you can verify, the date of the car accident, December 13th, 2019, was a date with 44 and 64 numerology, corresponding with the gematria of kill. Adding to the riddle with his own fatal accident after helping with the car accident, Kobe Bryant would die 44 days later, at least reportedly in the mainstream. Thus, in light of how well planned and coordinated it all was, it is no accident that the league was suspended on March 11th, 45 days from the death of Mr. 113 Kobe Bryant, when jazz equates to 45, and so does ritual. It was also a span of 46 days, and as you know, virus sums to 46, corresponding with how coronavirus pandemic equates to 113, along with the National Basketball Association and Utah Jazz, the latter tying in perfectly with the date March 11th, or 11/3 like 113. In light of Kobe Bryant traveling from Catholic Mass at the time of his accident, let us not forget that Catholic equates to 46 as well as 71, because the league was suspended on the 71st day of 2020 after supposedly 7-1 Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz tested positive for the virus. That was the day that was also the day March Madness, equating to 71, was put on hold before being canceled the next day, March 12th, the 72nd day of the year, corresponding with Jesuit order. Keep in mind, Rudy is from France, like the Jesuits, and he was born on the 26th of June, June 26 or 26/6, like 266. The same day of the year that Kobe Bryant was drafted into the NBA, and of course reminding us that Kobe Bryant's death came 266 days after his wife's birthday, something that can't be repeated enough in light of who is truly responsible for these evil acts. Case in point, the name Rudy Gobert sums to 135 and 54 in the same ciphers as Kobe Bean Bryant, meaning 54 in the same cipher as Jesuit order. And I should point out, March 11th was 37 weeks after Gobert's birthday, corresponding with virus as well as Bryant, two words that have gematria of 26 and 37 in identical ciphers, similar to COVID, equating to 26 with Pythagorean. For another important point about Rudy Gobert, he had been criticized on March 9th, 2020, for making fun of coronavirus after purposefully dragging his hand over every microphone on the podium as a way of showing he was not scared of the virus, a virus that was just beginning to take hold in the media. The date of his stunt, 2 days before the pandemic was declared, part of the ongoing and well-planned storyline and agenda we're now living out, could be written 9/3, much like 93, corresponding with Wuhan coronavirus. For another familiar number, the March 9th incident took place 257 days after his 27th birthday, the 55th prime. 257, the 55th prime. On the subject of 93 and 55, these are numbers that bring together the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the original home of the Lakers, and the death of Kobe Bryant, two men who were reported to have daughters named Gianna. As odd as that is, especially since the All-Star game paid tribute to Kobe, and it was between Team LeBron and Team Giannis. Gianna? Very, very similar. Oh my goodness. Before we get to the 93 and 55 part, I must point out that Kobe and George Floyd died a span of 121 days apart, and LA is 12-1, like 121. L is the 12th letter, A is the first letter, so 12-1, 121. At the same time, the phrase blood sacrifice equates to 121, and where Kobe Bryant and Gianna are reportedly buried is Pacific View Memorial Park, equating to 121 with Pythagorean. Keep in mind, the 121 relates to the gematria of revelation, and an alternative word for revelation is apocalypse, equating to 113 with simple English, the same as Kobe Bryant. In light of the end of days cartoons being released by Comedy Central on 16/11, foretelling the death of Kobe Bryant, you cannot deny the biblical riddles and to build on your gematria learning. Kobe's hometown, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, equates to 1611 with Jewish gematria, a fitting sum for being biblically named in the post-16th century world and the post-KJV world. This is crazy. As for the numbers 93 and 55, they relate to Minneapolis in several ways. Starting with 93, the city is located on the 93rd meridian west, and better yet, Minneapolis, Minnesota sums to 93 with Pythagorean. It reminds us how Tom Brady ran 93 offensive plays in Super Bowl 51, a record including 62 passes, and as I had pointed out then, he was definitely going to be back in Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis because of the gematria connections, including the fact that Minneapolis sums to 62 with reverse Pythagorean, similar to how Floyd and Riot equate to 62. On the subject of 55, Minneapolis sums to 55 with Pythagorean, reminding us it is where the Patriots fell to 5-5 in Super Bowls after losing to the Eagles in Super Bowl 52 after a sack fumble caused by number 55 of the Eagles to put the game away in their favor. Beyond the numbers, the connection with Kobe Bryant and George Floyd is that in the wake of the deaths of both men in 2020, "I can't breathe" became a popular motto, just as it had been in 2014 in the wake of the killing of Eric Garner. And in 2014, Kobe Bryant led the charge in the NBA with his "I Can't Breathe" protest t-shirt after the death of Eric, a slogan equating to 74, reminding us that Kobe Bryant would die during the 74th NBA season. For the record, protest sums to 113 with simple English, making Kobe a fitting leader because his name is 113. Oh my God. And also for the record, Eric Garner's killing was on July 17th, 2014, a date that can be written 17-7. And with 58 numerology, as well as 38 reminding us that George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, equating to 38, with Pythagorean on 38th Street before the murder trial date was set to begin on March 8, 2021. Emphasis on 38, and that his killing officer's name, Derek Chauvin, equates to 58, the same as Benjamin Crump, the latter being the attorney for the family of George Floyd, who is a member of the Boule. Benjamin Crump, who is a member of the Boule, as well as Prince Hall, both equating to 55, and being fraternal organizations that in the case of the Boule, Kobe Bryant equating to 58, and his father were and are members of, as well as Martin Luther King Jr., a man I must speak on briefly in relation to the deaths in his family and the reputation of the number 38. So as to emphasize the repetition of the evil that is taking place and who is responsible. And this stuff is just really so mind-blowing. Just terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay. Let me move over here for a second. Okay. For starters, the Boule, Theboule, the Boule equates to 38 with reverse Pythagorean. Now to build, Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in Memphis, equating to 38 in Pythagorean, the same as killing and gematria. Let us not forget that the song Gematria, the killing name by the band Slipknot, where the first member of the band to die, Paul Gray, passed at age 38 on May 24th, 2010, the 144th day of the year, the number corresponding with Jesuit order, of course, reminding us that the Boule, as well as the rest of the world of modern Freemasonry, fall under the umbrella of the Jesuits. One of many examples making it clear this is the case. Martin Luther King Jr.'s brother, Alfred A.D. King, was found drowned in a pool on July 21st, 1969, at the age of 38, the date in history the Jesuit order was banned by the Pope. And on the subject of 38, 163 is the 38th prime number, and July 21st leaves 163 days in the year, plus drowned has Pythagorean value of 38. Also noteworthy, the date he died had numerology of 116, and he was most commonly called AD King, equating to 116 with reverse simple, similar to how ad majorem Dei gloriam, the Jesuit motto, sums to 116 with the reverse Pythagorean. In other words, his number was up. And we know who was counting exactly. For another 38, MLK's father died November 11th, 1984, a standout year and date, 38 days before his 85th birthday, meaning he died at age 84 in 84. As you know, the number 84 connects to Jesuit, Savior, and the Catholic Church, and his son Martin Luther King Jr. was killed on the 95th day of 1968 on a date with numerology of 95 as well, a number reminding us that Martin Luther, who died in February of 1546, 6 years after the Jesuits were formed, led by the Protestant Reformation against the Catholic Church with the 95 Thesis. I should also note that MLK's father was killed on the 316th day of the year, corresponding with the Hebrew gematria of Jesus Christ, a number reminding us of John 3:16 about God sacrificing his son, similar to how MLK Jr., the son of Senior, had been sacrificed in 68, corresponding with the gematria of crucifixion, equating to 68. So let me just check here about his father. He died. I wonder how did he die. Maybe he'll say on down. Or did I miss how he died? Okay, it just says MLK's father died November 11, 1984. A standout year. Okay. So, well, I get what he's saying. You know, it's a ritual, so he didn't just die. He was killed. But anywho, moving right along, and we know who's responsible for doing all these things. Alrighty. Out of all the deaths in MLK's family, however, the one that screams Boule the most is the death of Yolanda King, who died on the 103rd anniversary of the Boule's establishment, May 15, 2007. Recall, in 2020, they released Kobe's autopsy on May 15th, and I should note the film that predicted his helicopter-related demise, The Black Mamba, the gematria equates to 38 with Pythagorean. As for Yolanda King, she was fitting for the ritual because 103 is the 27th prime, and like ritual, the name Yolanda sums to 27 with Pythagorean, thus explaining the reason behind the infamous 27 Club, adding to the list of 38. She died in Santa Monica, equating to 38 with Pythagorean and being located on the 34th parallel north, similar to how murder equates to 34th and 38, and reminding us that the Boule, equates to 34 and 38 as well. On the subject of 34, AD King's son would be killed at age 34 after he died at 38, and where MLK died, Memphis equates to 34 and 38 as well. So let me reread that because I know I screwed it up. On the subject of 34, AD King's son would be killed at age 34 after he died at age 38. And where MLK died, Memphis equates to 34 and 38 as well. Got it. Keep in mind, Santa Monica also sums to 187 in the same cipher as Society of Jesus, and Yolanda King equates to 58, like Secret Society. For one more on Yolanda, she died 179 days after her November 17th, 2006 birthday, and 179 is the 41st prime number, and that matters because the name King sums to 41 with simple English. It's similar to how Nick Cordero was reported dead at age 41 on July 5th, the 187th day of 2020, and on the day leaving 179 days left in the year, and also being a man having a September 17th birthday, emphasis on 17-9, similar to 179. You'll recall we covered his death earlier, having happened 201 days after Pope Francis's birthday, the first Jesuit pope who lives in Suite 201, where no other Catholic pope has lived before. Yeah, you suckers. This is amazing. For more familiar numbers, MLK Jr.'s mother was assassinated in church. She was shot and killed in church. Okay, let's reread that. For more familiar numbers, and I never heard this until I had I think Zach did a video on it, but I never knew that Martin Luther King's mother was killed in church, and it's just crazy. So anyway, let me get back to the reading. For more familiar numbers, MLK Jr.'s mother was assassinated in church June 30th, 1974. 10 years before her husband died in 84, I think. Wow. Emphasis on the year 74 and reminding us of the gematria values of 74 for Jesus, killing, and gematria. Even more, the assassin was said to be Marcus Wayne Chenault, equating to 74 with Pythagorean, and once again putting the Jesus stamp on the matter, something only the Society of Jesus would do. The date she was killed had 110 numerology as well, and I bring this up because Santa Monica also equates to 110, a number connected to prophecy, and it is something that is being fulfilled by a code. In the 18th chapter, we'll discuss how this factors into George Floyd being killed in Minnesota, equating to 110, and Ahmaud Arbery and Rayshard Brooks being killed 110 days apart, with the second killing being in Atlanta, Georgia, the home of the King family and also the current headquarters of the Boule. Adding to the riddle of the assassination of MLK's mother is the fact that she was killed on the 181st day of the year, the 42nd prime number, and Martin equates to 42, same as February, the same as Jesuit, whereas Black history equates to 181, reminding us that from Barack Obama's August 4th birthday to the start of the next Black History Month is 181 days each year, and that Barack Obama sums to 181 with Jewish gematria, and also that George Floyd was killed on Memorial Day, equating to 181. Boy, these are some bastards, and I can't stand you no more, Barack Obama. I hate all you black politicians, that all you people that just keep your own race down for your own selfish gains. This is some fucking ass. Oh, excuse me for cursing like that, but this just really pisses me off. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Not to mention the media's detail about how Amy Klobuchar, Klobuchar, how Amy Klobuchar could have put away Derek Chauvin in 2006 for wrongfully killing a 42-year-old person, but she didn't. And also not to mention the detail that George Floyd died on her birthday, the same day it was reported a white woman, Amy Cooper, a similar name to Amy Klobuchar in Central Park in New York, choked her dog while calling the police on a black man who was bird watching, only for it to be reported 42 days later by the New York District Attorney, July 6, 2020. There would be charges against Amy Cooper and naming a name, I'm sorry, Amy Cooper, a name equating to 42, the same as Amy alone. I mean, can't you guys see the patterns? Can't you guys see the rituals? Can't you guys see this is BS? All of it. And all these people are willing fucking participants. They participate in this stuff just to make people angry, just to keep races pitted against one another. And this is what has been going on for eons. It is just sickening, sickening, sickening. And never mind that in February of 2020, while Trump was campaigning for re-election, he said Amy Klobuchar was a joker. Yep, while putting his hands around his neck and mimicking being strangled and playing it up with his own improvised choking sound effects. He sure did. He's a sucker. It should serve as a reminder it is called political theater for a reason. Political theater for a reason. Even when I was in the military, I remember, they would say the word theater a lot. And also during the war that's going on now, after 9/11, I remember this distinctively hearing President Bush Jr., W. Bush, saying the theater that's taking place in this part of Iran or this part of Iraq, or I specifically heard him say the word theater, and I had never paid attention to. I was like, oh no, they call it theater. Even when I was in the military, and I was in the military, but that was back in the 90s, and I had no idea of this code. And I can't say the Army didn't help me. I can't say that, but just knowing that, just knowing the basis behind it all, just knowing what's going on. It is just, it doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't have to be this way. It is just, man, it's something else. It is just so mind-blowing. But anyway, back to the reading. Back on the subject of MLK's mother's assassination. She was killed in the Ebenezer Baptist Church. Ebenezer Baptist Church, equating to 228 with simple English. The same as Martin Luther King Jr. and United States of America. At the same time, St. Joseph's Hospital equates to 228 and 93, the same as Martin Luther King Jr. The location where MLK was pronounced dead. Keep in mind, death equates to 228 with Sumerian gematria. And with that thought in mind, please realize that Martin Luther King Jr. is the only person born in the history of the United States who has a holiday named after him to date. And his assassination is largely the reason for this. That's crazy. Got to get killed to get a holiday. Ugh. And on that matter, the last state to recognize the MLK holiday, let me reread that. On the last matter, the last state to recognize the MLK holiday because of political opposition was Arizona. Arizona equating to 42. And 84, the same as Jesuit, reminding us of the divide and conquer tactics that are utilized in the government and media with every major event that happens in the history of this great nation. A nation also having a name equating to 84. Jesuit. And in light of death being encoded in the country's name, let us not forget the U.S. is a nation that was founded on genocide, war, and slavery, despite the rosy pictures so often painted in our government-controlled schools, absolutely, where topics such as genocide are justified because of manifest destiny, a term I could write a book about. For now, I'll let you know that in Jewish gematria it sums to 929, the same as United States of America, and reminding us that the Old Testament has 929 chapters in it. My goodness. And for one last point on MLK's mother's death, she died 193 days after her husband's birthday, reminding us of how Bill Gates' mother died on the 193rd day of the father's age, of her husband's age. I'm accept. Let me reread that to make sure, because I can screw some reading up, but I want to make sure I have it in context for you as well as for myself. Okay, and for one last point on MLK's mother's death. She died 193 days after her husband's birthday, reminding us of how Bill Gates' mother died on the 193rd day of the father's age, a number that is the 44th prime connecting to kill and execution, and reminding us of the date MLK was assassinated was April 4th, or that Seattle, where the Gates family is from, equates to 44. In this case, 193 also corresponds with Roman Catholic Church, equating to 193 and 94 as well, and reminding us that Martin Luther King's death is remembered each year on April 4th, the 94th day of the year, except for in leap years, where it is the 95th. And also corresponding with how Bill Gates' mother died in 1994, the year Bill Gates married, and before he announced his decade of vaccines on the 94th day of his age. Oh, these bastards. Again, the parallels are no accident. It is because they are parts of scripts from the same Jesuit order, working on behalf of the same Roman Catholic Church, working by the same repetitive code year after year, cycle after cycle. Indeed, indeed, indeed. And on the topic, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday is January 15th, a date that can be written 115. The same day coronavirus supposedly showed up in the United States. You'll recall from our learning earlier the significance of 115 to the Jesuits and the nation of France, equating to 115, where they were formed. The same nation, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, came to power in the secret society that the Jesuits share a motto with. The same two entities that now have headquarters in Washington, D.C., the Masonic City, where Masonic equates to 115 as well. On the subject of Scottish, let us not forget that it equates to 113. Scottish equates to 113 with simple English, the same as Kobe Bryant, bringing us back to the date of March 11th, the date the NBA was suspended due to coronavirus. For the record, that was the 142nd day of the 74th NBA season, a season that began on October 22nd, 2019, the day leaving 70 days left in the year. And as we know, coronavirus equates to 142 and 70 with the base ciphers, and proving it was no accident, the NBA would announce that the season was set to return on July 31st, 2020, 142 days after it was suspended, despite later adding a double header for one day earlier, June 30th, where LeBron won on King James Day. Wow. Better yet, July 31st is the date Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, died in the year 1556. Emphasis on 56. It was a fitting date because July 31st leaves 153 days in the year, and Jesuit order equates to 153. It was also for this reason the Rockets played the last game of the day on the July 31st return, scoring 153 points and giving the Mavericks their 28th loss of the season, where Rockets equals 28 in Pythagorean. Furthermore, ESPN equating to 54 had a doubleheader for the return, and the Bucks picked up their 54th win of the season in the Jesuit order salute, both of which were easy games to call in advance, knowing the code. And in that same Bucks game, you had to laugh when Giannis gave his team an early 17-2 lead, much like 172, the Jesuit tribute number. As for the year 2020, July 31st was a date with 78 numerology, corresponding with both Jesuit and Scottish Rite, as well as Wuhan coronavirus, and the year Kobe Bryant was born, 1978. Adding to the riddle of the NBA's planned return date, July 31st was the 213th day of the leap year, similar to the LA area code 213, and similar to how LeBron ended up playing July 30th, 213 days after his 35th birthday. And in the case of the 74th NBA season, the NBA's advertising campaign was the codes to live by. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? The codes? No, they didn't say the codes. The codes we live by. And I said the codes to live by, but it is the codes we live by, you MFers. And that equates to 74, and being about the area codes NBA teams call home. And more codes that they kill you by. Furthermore, that same phrase equates to 79, the same as Society of Jesus and Helicopter Crash and The Black Mamba, the latter being the film that foreshadowed Kobe Bryant's death in Los Angeles, a title that also sums to 213 with Jewish gematria. Adding to the area code riddle, the NBA's July 31st planned return date was on LeBron James's 215th day of being his age, and that is the Philadelphia area code 215, where he passed Kobe Bryant in Kobe's hometown the day before Kobe died and shortly before the season was put on pause. Also not by chance, the NBA announced its July 31st return date on May 29th, 2020, 79 days after the league was suspended, on a date with 54 and 74 numerology. In that announcement, it was stated all remaining games would be played in the brand new ESPN Wide World of Sports complex, equating to 373. ESPN Wide World of Sports complex equates to 373 with reverse simple. The 74th prime number, a perfect concluding spot for the 74th NBA season. Plus the complex is in Orlando, equating to 79, or otherwise said Orlando, Florida, equating to 72 and 144, the same as Jesuit order. If you need one more proof of who is behind the rituals, July 31st will be the 187 days after Kobe Bryant's reported death, reminding us of the California Homicide Code, as well as the fact that Society of Jesus sums to 187. And if you still need another, July 31st, 2020 will have 42 and 78 date numerology, equating with a gematria of Jesuit. You can't get, oh my goodness. Whew. On the subject of the NBA returning on July 31st, a date that can be written 31/7, something like 317, I must bring up another important point that connects back to the memorial for Kobe Bryant on February 24th, 2020, the 55th day of the year, as well as the ceremony where he won his Oscar for Dear Basketball. It was that Jimmy Kimmel who broadcast his late-night TV show out of the Masonic Temple of Hollywood, who has a November 13th birthday, the 317th day of the year, was the host for both, and in the case of the February 24th memorial, it was titled A Celebration of Life, Kobe and Gianna Bryant. That equates to 317 with simple English gematria. The greater significance of the number 317 is that it is the 66th prime number, and fittingly, February 24th, 2020 had 66 date numerology. You would add 2 plus 24 plus 20 plus 20, that equates to 66. In addition to number of the beast equating to 66, a phrase that had much to do with Kobe Bryant's 666 ending in the helicopter, and the number 66 connects to the gematria of Lakers, LeBron, and LeBron James, the latter being the man who in recent history was reported to have gone to 6 straight finals for the first time since Bill Russell did it in 1966, and who also tattooed Mamba for life, and that's with the number 4, and who also tattooed Mamba for life on his body, equating to 66. And never mind that Bill Russell and LeBron James both equate to 42, with Pythagorean reminding us that the beast rules for 42 months in Revelation, and that basketball game has Sumerian gematria of 666, the number of the beast. It was also for this reason that at the same ceremony it was discussed how Kobe Bryant learned to play Moonlight Sonata on the piano, equating to 66 with Pythagorean gematria in record time, as a way of showing how talented and determined he was. I'm sure he was talented, but yeah, playing Moonlight Sonata. Yeah, go ahead on then, Kobe. Oh my goodness. Okay, and with regards to piano, it equates to 26 and 80, the same as Bryant, and 26, 55, and 80 in the same way as Boule. The word Satan equates to 55 and 80. Oh, you freaking Satanists. In light of the significance of 317 in the ritual, and Beyonce's parallels to Kobe through Bugaboo winning her 24th Grammy the same day Kobe, number 24, died, as well as opening his ceremony on February 24th with singing I Should Bring Up the Release of Her Black is King. Okay, let me reread that. I think I screwed that all up. Okay. In light of the significance of 317 in the ritual, and Beyonce's parallels to Kobe through Bugaboo and winning her 24th Grammy the same day Kobe, number 24, died, as well as opening his ceremony on February 24th with singing. Okay, with singing. Okay, not that he's singing a title. So he's just saying with singing. I should bring up the release of her Black is King musical on Disney Plus on July 31st, 2020. A date that can be written 31/7, much like 317, the 66th prime. Are you kidding me? Corresponding with the fact that King equates to 66 in Jewish gematria, and Kobe Bryant of the Lakers had a tattoo on his arm of a crown. Let us not forget 66 is the 11th triangular number, and black equates to 11 with Pythagorean gematria, corresponding with the title Black is King. Speaking of which, the title sums to 201 in the Jewish cipher, the number of the Jesuit order. And for one more connection to 11, 31 is the 11th prime, and it released on the 31st of July, corresponding with the NBA's planned return date for the NBA, the day leaving 153 days in the year. As a reminder, Jesuit order equates to 153 as well as 144 and 54. And Kobe died 144 days after Beyonce's 38th birthday, and on the 54th day of Jay-Z's age 50, who also stars with his wife in the musical along with Jesse Reyes, who we'll learn about later, in the death of Naya Rivera in light of her name sounding like Nile River, and the Nile River being shown in Beyonce's film. To take it a step further, Beyonce's film is 85 minutes in length, corresponding with the gematria of basketball, equating to 85 with simple English, and the years of the first March Madness tournament in 85. The one where a Catholic school, Villanova, outside of Philadelphia, beat a Jesuit school, Georgetown, to win the first tournament championship. In this case, May 8th or 8-5 or 5-8 was also the date NBA teams were allowed to resume practicing after the coronavirus quarantine. And let us not forget that it was Utah who was blamed because, like Kobe Bryant, Utah equates to 58, syncing with the May 8th return. And keep in mind, the rumor has recently circulated that Beyonce is from Italy, and it wouldn't make too much sense with Kobe growing up in Italy as well, and the concept of the church picking their pawns to do their bidding in terms of people like Beyonce and Kobe Bryant. So I screwed that up. So let me reread that. I'm so sorry, you guys, but just hang on. Okay, it says, and keep in mind, the rumor has recently circulated that Beyonce is from Italy. And wouldn't it, okay, got it, see, I knew, and wouldn't it make too much sense with Kobe growing up in Italy as well, and the concept of the church picking their pawns to do their bidding in terms of people like Beyonce and Kobe Bryant? Absolutely, got it. Okay, if you take the time to watch the film, you'll understand the biblical and occult symbolism within it, having read this book, especially when they get to the part about knowing good and evil. Oh my goodness. That is shown with imagery of a chessboard and a heavy white and black focus. If you watch, you'll also notice it is full of card symbolism, something that should remind you of tarot. And let us not forget, the oldest tarot deck traces back to Italy, the nation that was hit the hardest by the virus after the outbreak. Italy equals Wuhan in 3 out of 4 base ciphers. My goodness. As for the satanic numbers being assigned to the ritual, there is a reason. And it begins with the fact that Italy, the home of the Catholic Church, and satanic equate. Beyond that, basketball is a game of 5 versus 5, and as we know, Satan sums to 55 with simple English. Regarding the number 55, it is one we have covered in great detail regarding Kobe Bryant's death, as well as the boule. Got it, okay? Regarding the number 55, it is one that we have covered in great detail regarding Kobe Bryant's death, as well as the boule, and how the number 55 factors into the ritual of the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the original home of the Lakers. And please note that these numbers don't mean it is evil to play basketball. What they mean are that the insane psychopaths who are effectively running the world as well as the NBA, and who enjoy number games and riddles are using the things they control that have the right number relationships to lay down the tracks of their contrived prophecy, a word again equating to 666 with Jewish gematria. What in the world is going on? I mean, I see what's going on with these suckers, these people, these evil regular men getting away with all this shit for thousands of years. This is crazy. It's just really crazy. Okay, moving right along. The evidence of this is in things such as the Comedy Central cartoon about Kobe Bryant dying in the helicopter that released on November 16, 2016, the 1611 date, in relation to the KJV Bible, not too many years before Kobe's planned demise, and how it was titled End of Days, a biblical concept. And it became part of a story that involved LeBron King James passing Kobe in points scored in Kobe's biblical hometown the day before Kobe's death in a 666 copter. 666 copter, absolutely. Then consider how consider how at the same time and in the time shortly after there were countless headlines written comparing the coronavirus break to the end times and the word apocalypse scattered here and there. Then consider further, at the same time this was going on, the U.S. government was busy working on H.R. 6666, and a pandemic was landing exactly 666 days after the Clade X simulation that laid out something very similar to what we're currently living out, just not as drastic, at least not yet, as of July 2020, when I am putting the final ink on these thoughtfully written pages. And speaking of LeBron James and 66, the man with the biblical nickname in connection to the text that is 66 books in length, the Holy Bible, let us build on the prophecy riddle by revisiting his last game as a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers while playing against the Los Angeles Lakers. If you search for it, you'll find that was played March 11. You'll find that game was played March 11, 2018. A span of 113 days from LeBron James signing with the Lakers on July 1st, 2018. And the March 11th game between the two teams was the 66th for both, and the Cavaliers lost 113 to 127. Regarding the score, as you learned earlier, Scottish sums to 113, and Scottish Rite of Freemasonry equates to 127 as well. And for the record, that July 1st deal was reported to be worth $154 million, a funny payout when you recognize King James equates to 154 with reverse simple English. And please don't overlook that July 1st can be written 7-1 like 71 as in Catholic, and similar to 71, the 20th prime, reminding us of 2020, the year all these riddles are aligning for something that is as horrific as it is fascinating. Of course, July 1st can also be written as 1-7, and NBA equates to 17 with simple English, reminding us of the Celtics, who led the NBA with 17 titles and who are trailed by the Lakers with 16. Let us not forget Los Angeles sums to 53, the 16th prime, or that Black Mamba sums to 59, the 17th prime, or how Boston and Los Angeles came together in Super Bowl 53, where the spoils went to the New England Patriots 13-3 in what was considered a dud of a game contrived for the GOAT, the GOAT, greatest of all time. As for why Boston is the leader in the NBA, gematria tells the tale. Boston and basketball are identical in simple English and Pythagorean, equating to 85 and 22, similar to how Brady and National Football League equate to 85 with simple English, and Boston, New England, is currently tied for the lead in most Super Bowls as well. The 85 connection is the reason the NBA allowed teams to resume practice on May 8th, or 8/5 or 58, or 5/8, excuse me. It's also the reason the first March Madness was in 1985. And while we're off on the championship leading cities tangent, let us not forget that the New York Yankees, identical to Society of Jesus in half the base ciphers, lead the MLB, equating to 27 with simple English, with 27 championships. Okay, let me reread that. Let us not forget that the New York Yankees, identical to Society of Jesus in half the base ciphers, led the MLB, equating to 27 with simple English and with 27 championships. Got it. To fill in a few more dots about Kobe Bryant's death and the larger ritual, including the coronavirus agenda and the rioting in the wake of George Floyd, consider at the beginning of the outbreak, Italy, the home of the Vatican, where Kobe Bryant grew up, was the hardest hit country in terms of cases and deaths, with the virus taking a toll on the elderly and impoverished. In gematria, Wuhan and Italy are identical in 3 out of the 4 base ciphers, summing to 22, 67, and 68, and where they don't match, Wuhan sums to 23 and Italy equates to 32. As for the numbers, 22 and 68 in both Wuhan and Italy, those coordinate with the gematria of basketball, also summing to 22 and 68. Thus how Kobe fits in. Of course, the term coronavirus was coined in 1968, explaining why these elements fit together in the ritual that is all about numbers and time, reminding us of the title of the 4th book of the Holy Bible, Numbers. And again, Kobe fell to 4th in scoring one day before his death. Bastards. In terms of time, as a reminder, 1968, the infamous year, was 52 years before 2020, and Kobe Bryant was part of the Super Bowl 52 ritual won by Philadelphia, the biblically named city, in a Super Bowl played in Minnesota, equating to 52, like prophecy. And furthermore, after the George Floyd killing in Minnesota on the 93rd Meridian West, a number central to Martin Luther King Jr., the phrase "I can't breathe" became very popular, that Kobe championed in 2014, a phrase having gematria of both 52 and 74, and all of this shortly after the prophecy of Acts 7:6 was fulfilled in terms of U.S. history, and just before Patrick Mahomes, who made the 49ers 5-2 in Super Bowls by beating them, signed what was reported to be a $400+ million contract on July 6, 2020, emphasis on 7-6. Again, it was the first Chiefs Super Bowl victory since they had beat the Minnesota Vikings 50 years earlier, a team name equating to 201 like George Perry Floyd, going with the rest of the 201 list. And 7-6 Negro equates to 76. And let me see which cipher. I want to say and reduction, but I just want to be sure. So Negro equates to 76 in reverse ordinal, thus Acts 7-6, and emphasis on 7-6, July 6, which can be written 7-6. It's just sick. Okay, in the 18th chapter, we'll discuss why the killing of George Floyd took place 75 days after the NBA was suspended, when both Kobe and Martin some to 75, the latter being the name of Martin Luther King Jr., who was in the Boule and was pronounced dead at 7:05 p.m. local time. Keep in mind, Catholic Church also equates to 75, the same as New World Order. And as a reminder, please seek out the New York Times story from October 6th, 1940, with a top headline that day reading, New World Order pledged to Jews. And I've read that before, and it is also in Zach's first book, Letters and Numbers, but it is a web searcher where you can go and find that news story. My God. So here we go. Not by chance, that date has 75 numerology, a number that also corresponds with the gematria of order out of chaos and order itself. And adding to your 75 list, it was not by chance that Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother was assassinated June 30th, 1974, 75 days before her September 13th birthday. And on the subject of the Catholic Church and New World Order, she was 69 years old, and both entities equate to 69 and 75, whereas the Jesuit order equates to 69 alone. Oh my goodness. For another parallel between the Boule, Kobe Bryant, and Martin Luther King Jr., it is the number 80, with reverse simple English. Boule sums to 80, and Martin Luther King Jr. died April 4th, 1968, 80 days after his January 15th birthday. At the same time, Bryant sums to 80 with simple English and 26 with Pythagorean, whereas Boule equates to 26 with reverse Pythagorean and 80 with reverse simple, bringing us back to Kobe's demise on the 26th day of the year. For another recent example of the number 80 in terms of black history, Kofi Annan, Kofiattaannan, okay? Kofi Annan, summing to 80 with reverse Pythagorean, who received the Nobel Peace Prize, equating to 80 with Pythagorean on October 12, 2001, the day leaving 80 days left in the year, died at age 80 on August 18, 2018. Oh my gosh. He was the first black leader of the United Nations in Switzerland, a nation that has very much to do with world affairs, from the World Health Organization to the World Economic Forum. Keep in mind, Kofi Annan died on a date with 44 and 64 numerology as well, corresponding with the gematria of Kiel, equating to 44 and 64. Just after Obama's birthday, the man known as number 44, who became the 44th U.S. president 44 years after the 1964 U.S. Civil Rights Act, running on hope, a word equating to 44 and 64, similar to how Barack Hussein Obama and civil rights both sum to 64 with Pythagorean. Let us not forget, 1964 was 56 years before 2020, the year all of these running agendas coming together. All of these running agendas coming together, and that's true. The word coronavirus equates to 56. This is just BS, and there are, what it is saying, I've seen so many headlines. 42% of all coronavirus deaths are of African Americans, or African Americans make up 42% of illnesses due to coronavirus, as if we're the weaker people, we the one that gets sick all the time, when they're actually targeting us. Barack Obama and them know all this crap. They know this stuff. I mean, he's 56 years before 2020. Even Lori Lightfoot, the 56th mayor of Chicago, Jenny Durkin here, the 56th mayor here. It's just sick. Andrew Cuomo, the 56th mayor in New York. Or even Gavin Newsom of California telling his people that in 8 weeks, 56% of Californians are going to have coronavirus. In 8 weeks is 56 days. Can't you people see this? This is what these people are doing. It is a mockery. They are playing with our lives. So many people are dying by this code, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. I just really hope that so many people wake up to this and just stop participating in this. You know, there is a better way. It just, this whole system needs to be changed. It has to be done away with, and it has to be a fair system that is not run by the Jesuits or the Catholics, who are the same people in my view. It needs to stop, and all these secret societies need to be stopped if they're having an effect on people's lives, because they think in your death they can get power. These numbers give them power. It's BS. But anyway, moving right along. And to further illustrate the point of how all these agendas are truly coming together in 2020, we'll examine the death of Lisa Marie Presley's son on July 12th, 2020 in greater detail in relation to the death of Kobe Bryant. As we connect the dots, keep in mind Elvis's daughter was born in 1968, the infamous year, 52 years prior to 2020, before reportedly losing her son at age 27 to suicide, the ritual number in Calabasas, the same city Kobe Bryant and 8 others fatally crashed in to begin the year. And as you know, Elvis Presley has much to do with the coronavirus riddle, and so does Kobe Bryant. So to prove these two celebrity-related deaths in Calabasas in close proximity to one another were no coincidence, okay, and that they were carried out by the same Jesuit Masonic network, we'll examine a few telling signs. For starters, July 12, 2020 had 59 date numerology connecting the gematria of Calabasas, Black Mamba, and Elvis Presley, each equating to 59 and 67, okay? And keep in mind, Kill sums to 59 with Jewish gematria, and Killer sums to 67 with simple English. For another parallel between the two deaths, her son's name, Benjamin Keogh, Keough, okay, Benjamin Keogh, equates to 135 and 243 in the exact same ciphers as Kobe Bean Bryant. Let us not forget the U.S. was 243 years old when Kobe died, or that there is now a movement to make the NBA's logo the likeness of Kobe Bryant, replacing Jerry West, who happened to be 81 years old and 243 days past his birthday when Kobe died, having been born May 28, 1938, corresponding with the fact that Kobe Bean Bryant equates to 281 and 243. And regarding the example of Kofi Annan, he died on the day, leaving 135 days in the year, connecting to the fact that the Boulet's birthday is the 135th day of the year. At the same time, Boulet sums to 277 in Jewish gematria, the 59th prime. I should also note, some researchers contend the Boule are very fixated on Lucifer, and they absolutely are. I don't have to be proven that. What they're doing, you can see how they're killing people. With that in mind, let us not forget that Lucifer, Psalms 274, with simple English, or that Kobe Bryant's demise came during the 74th NBA season, or that Kobe Bryant was born the day the Boule turned 74 years and 101 days old, the latter number 101 corresponding with Philadelphia, the original home of the Boule, for another parallel between the deaths of Benjamin Keough and Kobe Bryant. They came a span of 169 days apart, a number having a square root of 13, corresponding with LA equating to 13. At the same time, LA equates to 41, the 13th prime number, the same as King, equating to 41, and 67. And that links to Kobe Bryant dying at 41, a man who had a tattoo of a crown on his arm, whereas Elvis Presley was called the king of rock and roll. And then consider these riddles these riddles in the time of coronavirus, where corona is the Spanish word for crown. And let us not forget, all of this came not long after the death of Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, who died on the 41-year anniversary of Elvis, sometime before the first case of coronavirus was confirmed in the U.S. in King County. Brandon Keough also died on his 163rd day of his mother's age, the 38th prime number, corresponding with death, murder, killing, R.I.P. Memphis, Graceland, and the Black Mamba, as well as George Floyd on the 38th Street before the murder trial was set for March 8 or 3/8. Wow. As for the Jesuit fingerprints on the ritual, the name Lisa Marie Presley sums to 79 and 187, the same as Society of Jesus, and reminding us that both helicopter crash and the Black Mamba equate to 79, the same as murder. Let us not forget Elvis died at age 42, corresponding with the gematria of Jesuit, and the fact that every mainstream media outlet reported Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashed on the 4200 block, even though it crashed in the middle of a field. Beyond that, her son Benjamin Keough died on his 266th day of his age, a number that should go without saying at this point, and that points straight at the Society of Jesus, aka the Jesuit order. My God. To further the case on the relevance of 266 in relation to the Jesuits and the agendas we're exposing, in case somehow the evidence is lacking thus far, we'll examine what happened with Eminem, the Elvis Presley of his time, in the sense of both white men were and are accused of making black music. Okay, so let me go back and reread that. To further the case on the relevance of 266 in relation to the Jesuits and the agendas we're exposing, in case somehow the evidence is lacking thus far, we'll examine what happened with Eminem, the Elvis Presley of his time, in the sense both white men were and are accused of making black music, and both men's names equate to 59. These some bastards, I tell you. On July 9th, 2020, it was Eminem's 266th day of being 47 years old, having been born October 17, 1972. That also happened to be a date having 56 numerology and being written 7/9. While also being the 191st day of the year, corresponding with the gematria of Society of Jesus, equating to 56, 79, and 191. On that day, Eminem released the song The Adventures of Moon Man and Slim, equating to 135, the same as Central Intelligence Agency, the same as Central Intelligence Agency, and its current director, Gina Sherry Haspel. Gina, Cheri, Sherry, Haspel, Haspel. Okay. The lyrics of the song received mainstream attention because they criticized people not wearing masks in the time of coronavirus, and police brutality in the time of Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. In other words, it was the culture creators, the Jesuits, using their musician puppet to create more divisive content for the currently forming mask culture that is part of the new normal, a term equating to 47. And keep in mind, when this song came out, major cities were introducing hotlines to text images of people not wearing masks too. Thus, a tattletale line for the purpose of governments being given the opportunity to test the capabilities of their facial recognition technology systems that coronavirus created the excuse for. On the subject of 135, I should note that Eminem released a music video on January 16, 2020 titled Darkness. It paid tribute to the Route 91 Harvest Festival shooting, and it showed the recreated hotel room of the October 1st, 2017 shooter, with the room number chosen for the video being 135, proving that this was no accident is the fact that Darkness sums to 91 with simple English gematria, and Route 91 Harvest Festival shooting. And the Route 91 Harvest Festival shooting was on October 1st, the day leaving 91 days left in the year. And to top it off, the music video released 91 days after Eminem's 47th birthday. This is some BS, some BS, some BS. And never mind that 91 is the 13th triangular number, and that CIA equates to 13, or that images shown in the media of the Route 91 Harvest Festival shooter featured a 13 tattooed on his neck. And since Eminem was 47 at the time of release, also never mind that it was reported that the October 1st shooter owned at least 47 guns in light of the shooting happening in Nevada, one of two states with a simple English gematria of 47, the other being Ohio, where Kid Cudi is from, a rap artist having 47 name gematria, and who shares the track The Adventures of Moon Man and Slim with Eminem. And for the person asking, yes, capital Steez, Capitalsteez. Yes, capital Steez sums to 47 with Pythagorean, as well as 187. And for people who don't know, he was a rapper who died young, who often expressed his fascination with the number 47. Also noteworthy, Eminem's Darkness song was part of an album that was released one day after the music video on January 17, 2020, a date with 58 numerology, reminding us that 58 were reportedly killed at the Route 91 Harvest Festival shooting on the 58th day of then Nevada Governor Sandoval's Sandobal, the 54th day of Sandoval's age, a man born on August 5th or 5/8, and who was 54 years old when it happened. Adding to the riddle, Eminem's album with the song Darkness, titled Music to be Murdered By, was in tribute to monologues done by Alfred Hitchcock in the year 1958. This is BS. It is fair to say, then, that there is no doubt Eminem was chosen as a government pawn at the age of 47 in his career intentionally, in light of how important the number 47 is to government, a word equating to 47, and a number being especially important to Washington, D.C., the nation's federal headquarters, as you learned about earlier, the city that is a Jesuit and Vatican stronghold. If you have not seen the Darkness music video, it ends with an advertisement for the U.S. federal government instructing people how they can turn in their weapons, making it all the easier from the government's perspective to have dominion over the masses. And let us not forget, the CIA was created in 1947 and is interested in mind control. And when it comes to mind control, the power of celebrity is very, very persuasive. To make another point about celebrity and the Jesuits and the repetition of ritual, and in another story taking place on July 9, 2020, and also related to Eminem, it was the assumed drowning of the third member of the TV show Glee, and that was Naya Rivera at age 33. She was the same actress who sang the song If I Die Young in an October 10th, 2013 episode of the hit show. In that song, there are lyrics about being laid down in the river at dawn, a body of water that is spelled very similar to Riviera. Furthermore, the title of the song sums to 56, matching the date numerology of the news of her disappearance. And further, her name, Naya Marie Rivera, and that's Nayamarierievera. Naya Marie Rivera, her full name, equates to 79 with Pythagorean gematria, and the show Glee, Glee, equates to 79 with reverse simple, similar to how murder sums to 79 with simple English. Okay, connecting with the date 79. Keep in mind, Society of Jesus equates to both 56 and 79, as well as 187 and 199 and 191. And in the case of Rivera, the news came on the 191st day of 2020 and 187 days before her upcoming birthday, January 12, 2021. Adding to the riddle, her body was recovered on July 13th, 2020, a date that can be written 13-7, like 137, the 33rd prime. Worse yet, it was the 7-year anniversary in the 7th month of the death of Corey Monteith, the first member of Glee to die. Not by chance, when you write out 33 as words, it sums to 66. And that is also true with Corey Monteith and Naya Rivera. As for how Eminem fits in, it is through his hit song 97 Bonnie and Clyde, where there are lyrics about drowning the mother of his child, as well as the use of the words just the two of us from the Bill Withers hit song by the same name, a song that was sung by the same man who died by the code to start 2020. And again, it was also sung by Will Smith. This matters because Naya Rivera's last Instagram post was on July 8th with the words, just the two of us. Of course, the date of the news, July 9th, can be written 97, similar to 97, corresponding with the gematria of death, and Eminem's hit song 97, Bonnie and Clyde. What makes this riddle undeniable, however, is that on April 2nd, 2020, it was reported Maeve Kennedy and her son, What makes this riddle undeniable, however, is that on April 20th, 2020, it was reported Maeve, M-A-E-V-E, or Maeve Kennedy, and her son disappeared in a canoe accident, a word equating to 20, 25, 38, and 97, in all the exact same ciphers as death, and a date that was precisely 97 days before the disappearance of Naya Rivera, July 8, 2020. Furthermore, their bodies were found April 6, 2020. It was the 97th day of the leap year, and they were said to be recovered in 25 feet of water. 97 is the 25th prime, so they was found in 25 feet of water in the town of Shadyside, Maryland, equating to 97 with reverse Pythagorean. The clincher is that Eminem's rap alias is Slim Shady. Never mind that the family surname Kennedy equates to 33 and Naya Rivera was 33, or that Eminem lost his close friend and rap associate Proof when Eminem was 33 years old. That killing happened April 11, 2006, a date with 51 numerology corresponding with the gematria of conspiracy. I bring it up because the words just the two of us equate to 51 and 156, the same as Naya Rivera. And while we're at it, 33 also sums to 156 with simple English, and that's written as words 33. Okay, for another, Lake Piru. P-I-R-U. P-I-R-U. Lake Piru equates to 51. And that was where Naya Rivera reportedly drowned. If you're not aware, the word Piru means devil in Finnish. And Eminem has an album called Devil's Night as well. Even further, Naya Rivera starred in the film At the Devil's Door that premiered March 9th, 2014, 56 days after Rivera's 27th birthday, and a date that can be written 9-3 like 93, corresponding with the fact that Lake Piru sums to 93 with simple English, the number of Saturn, who to the occult is also recognized as Satan. In that film, she is often shown wearing a red sweater with the number 33 on it, the age of her planned demise. And because the number 33 also resonates with the Kennedy family, I'll note that Rivera disappeared 93 days after Maeve Kennedy and her son were found on April 6th, or 4/6, reminding us of JFK's death at age 46, and the greater parallels to the number such as Catholic and sacrifice. In this case, Rivera's character in the film At the Devil's Door is named Vera, V-E-R-A, a name equating to 46 with simple English. Keep in mind the name of the film sums to 84 and 177, the same as the Jesuit order, corresponding with how it premiered 56 days after her birthday, the number matching Society of Jesus, and the date numerology of the news of her disappearance, as well as the gematria of If I Die Young, the song she sang in 2013. And as if the case wasn't already closed, Naya Rivera also played the part of Blanca Alvarez, and that's B-L-A-N-C-A-A-L-V-A-R-E-Z. And that name, Blanca, I'm assuming it's Blanca Alvarez, equating to 46 with Pythagorean, a character that dies in the 33rd episode of Devious Maids that released July 13th, 2015, 5 years to the day of her body being recovered. I'll add the title Devious Maid sums to 51, connecting to both Lake Piru, Naya Rivera, and Rome. Furthermore, the title sums to 75, like Catholic Church. I should also point out that the riddles connecting news, sports, and entertainment are international, and that I am only focusing on a small group of examples in the U.S. because this happens to be the nation I live in as the author. But to make the point about these same things happening overseas, in Europe football, Real Madrid, with their crown for a logo, R-E-A-L-M-A-D-R-I-D, Real Madrid, with their crown for a logo, reportedly lost their former owner, Lorenzo Sanz, to coronavirus, or the crown virus, at age 76, an age corresponding with the gematria of Spain, where Madrid is. That made this riddle all the more interesting. No, what made this riddle all the more interesting is the fact that his death came while Real Madrid's league was paused due to the coronavirus outbreak, and they were stuck on 56 points in league play, corresponding with the gematria of coronavirus. They were only trailing Barcelona, who had 58 points, whereas Barcelona, Spain sums to 58 with Pythagorean. And for more familiar numbers, Real Madrid equates to 68, the same as basketball and Wuhan, and reminding us of 1968, the year coronavirus was coined. And if you want to practice your gematria skills, go back and revisit the first 10 or so NBA players to come down with coronavirus in the headlines, and you won't be surprised to see that nearly all of their names equate to 68, including Kevin Durant, who was drafted by the Supersonics out of Seattle, Washington, also equating to 68, where the outbreak in the United States began. At the time of the diagnosis, he was playing for the Brooklyn Nets, owned by Jay-Z, reminding us of how Kobe Bean Bryant died on Jay-Z's 54th day of his age, and that the Nets used to be in New Jersey, home of the 201 area code, what is the pharmaceutical giant Mecca. It is to say, it reminds us of how it all comes full circle, kind of like the Lion King that released July 19, 2019, 54 weeks before Jay-Z's wife's Black is King, a related film. For one more point on the number 68, I must mention the film Space Jam, equating to 68 with simple English. It involves a plot with details of the NBA season being suspended due to a virus caused by aliens, and it released November 15, 1996, a span of 13 days from Kobe's November 3rd debut in the NBA, while Michael Jordan, the star of the film, was 33 years old. The film also released 94 days before Jordan's February 17, 1997 birthday, and as we know, 68 and 94 have quite the relationship, connecting two things we have covered, ranging from MLK's assassination to the World Trade Centers to Seattle, Washington to Davos, Switzerland, to the word terror itself. In this case, coronavirus pandemic also equates to 94, and the word corona alone sums to 96, corresponding with the year the film came out. And let us not forget that the name coronavirus was coined in 1968. Furthermore, the movie released on the day, leaving 46 days in the year, and virus sums to 46, same as Chicago, where Michael Jordan was the big star at the time. And please also keep in mind, Chicago is where Tom Hanks moved from in Sleepless in Seattle, and that Seattle and Chicago were the first two cities in the U.S. to confirm cases of coronavirus. Let us also not overlook that Michael Jordan was 56 years old at the time of Kobe Bryant's burial in Corona del Mar, and let us also hope that a celebrity such as Michael Jordan will pick up this book and be inspired to spill the beans, because Jordan's tears at the Kobe Bryant Memorial February 24th, 2020 told me he knew something that he did not speak on that was truly tearing him apart inside. In my opinion, if he were a real legend, he would have let it out, because the world needs to know the truth. Absolutely, exactly. And oh my gosh. To close with a few more familiar numbers, I want to bring attention to the two books that Kobe Bryant released shortly before his death. The first was released March 19, 2019, 157 days before his 41st birthday, titled The Wizenard Series, Wizenard, the Wizenard Series Training Camp. You know the drill with 157 and 41 in terms of Kobe Bryant. And to add to the list, the protagonist of the story is Rollaby. Well, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but I will spell it. I think it's Rolabi, as a matter of fact, but it's spelled Rolabi. So the story is Rolabi Wizard equating to 157. So let me reread that. Okay, you know the drill with 157 and 41 in terms of Kobe Bryant. And to add to the list, the protagonist of the story is Rolabi Wizard equating to 157 with simple English. Okay, the other thing to see in the book is that the Wizard series sums to 251, the 54th prime, again corresponding with Kobe Bryant, with this title and numerical relationship of 251 and 54. With this title and numerical relationship of 254 and 251 in mind, recall what we learned earlier about the cartoon Legends of Chamberlain Heights and the deaths of both Wilt Chamberlain and Kobe Bryant. What I did not mention about the cartoon before is that it released on Kobe Bryant's 86th day of his age, a number connecting to the gematria of blood sacrifice as well as human sacrifice, plus the term 86. Even further, John Wayne Airport equates to 86, where Kobe Bryant reportedly was traveling from when he died. I bring this up because the name Rolabi Wizard sums to 86 as well. And while we're at it, it also sums to 76, like Negro, and like how Kobe Bryant grew up a Philadelphia 76ers fan and reportedly crashed a helicopter called Sikorsky S-76, named after Igor Ivanovich Sikorsky, summing to 126, and who died on the 26th of October. Further connecting the dots, the fictional character Mr. Wizard teaches a group of boys to play basketball at the fictional Fairwood Community Center, equating to 118 and 125 in all the same ciphers as Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And Igor Ivanovich Sikorsky summoned to 126, the same as the date Kobe died, 126, January 26. This is some crazy stuff. At the same time, Fairwood alone sums to 125, just like Training Camp. The second part of the title, the Wizard series, Training Camp. The number 125 also connects to numerology. The word numerology, same with 55. This detail reminds me of Darren Daulton, D-A-U-L-T-O-N. Darren Daulton, who played for the Philadelphia Phillies and who wrote the book If They Only Knew about numerology and sports, and who died 215 days after his 55th birthday, similar to the Philadelphia area code, equating to 215. His death came just before the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl in Minneapolis, equating to 55 and making the Patriots 5-5 in Super Bowls. Furthermore, he died on August 6th, 2017. Emphasis on 8-6, reminding us that the Eagles won the Super Bowl on the touchdown catch from number 86, Zach Ertz, E-R-T-Z, Zach Ertz, 86 days after his birthday, in a season played 86 years after the national anthem was adopted. His death was also a span of 183 days before the Eagles won the Super Bowl over the Patriots from Massachusetts, a state equating to 183. And in Darren Daulton's case, August 6th also leaves 147 days left in the year, and Darren Daulton sums to 147 with simple English, same as World Series. Again, it speaks to how repetitive the rituals are. As for the second book Kobe Bryant released, it was Epoca, the Tree of Ekrof. So E-P-O-C-A and Ekrof, E-C-R-O-F. Okay. So, as for the second book Kobe Bryant released, it was Epoca, the Tree of Ekrof. The Island of the Gods. It's about a fictional world filled with magic and basketball, having a title equating to 178 with reverse Pythagorean, similar to how Kabbalah equates to 178 with reverse simple. On the cover of the book, it shows a bright and colorful tree above the ground and a dark and withered tree below the ground. Of course, this is paying tribute to Kabbalah's tree of life and also the dark half known as the Qliphoth. Qliphoth, a word having gematria of 51 and 666, same as helicopter. I'll finish by saying it was no accident this book released on November 12th, 2019, 81 days after Kobe's birthday and 75 days before his death. As you know, Kobe being Bryant equates to 81. Wizard equals 81 with both simple and reverse simple. And he was the man who had a career high of 81 points in his 666th NBA game, scoring 66% of the points. And at the same time, the word Kobe alone equates to 75, the same as New World Order and Catholic Church, reminding us that the term the Cabal comes from Kabbalah, a secret society that grew out of the church, and the language of gematria comes from within Kabbalah. If you take the time to seek out the cover of this book, Ipaka, the Tree of Ekroth, the Island of the Gods, you'll be reminded of the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And for the record, Ipaka equates to 95, reminding us once again who is in charge, the Jesuit order. And that is the end of chapter 16. And before I sign off, I want to tell you guys how to get Zachary K. Hubbard's books. His first book is entitled Letters and Numbers, okay? So you would go to visit his YouTube channels, Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports. And in the description of each of his videos, he leaves a link for you to purchase the book, Letters and Numbers, for $5, the best $5 you'll ever spend in your life, because the information contained in his books, you won't get it anywhere else. I don't care, unless you're a part of the cabal, you're not going to know this information. So this book will come to you via email as a PDF file, so be sure to save the file and keep it so you always have access to it. Zachary K. Hubbard left the copyright purposefully from the book Letters and Numbers so that you can have it bound into a book for your own personal library. Okay, and with that said, there's over 700 pages in this book, so you can get this book bound into a book by uploading it to lulu.com, and for less than 30 bucks they will bind it into a book for you as well. Or you could take it or email it to your local bindery, contact them to find out how much it will cost to have your book bound into a book, hardcover or paperback, your choice. But just get these books, make sure you read it. Now his latest book, Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus, this book looks like you have to order it directly from Zachary K. Hubbard by visiting his blog page, gematriaeffectnews.blogspot.com. And the first thing you'll see when you get to that page is the advertising for this book. And as you scroll down, it will give you the instructions on how to purchase the book directly from him. And I think he may have other entities listed on how you can get the book, but I know for sure you can get it. You can order it from him. So just be sure to get the books. And if you become a Patreon of Zachary K. Hubbard at the $1 a month tier, you can get both these books in PDF file as I'm reading on my computer the PDF file of his books. But at any rate, get the books, learn this code, and just see the madness that is going on around us every day that doesn't have to be. This stuff is manufactured. History is manufactured via this code, and people's lives are just being ruined and cut short due to this code. But anyway, I hope you guys will give this video a like and a share. And I will see you in the next reading, and I will begin in chapter 17. Okay, thank you guys, and have a good evening. Thank you.